Hey, what's up? Angela Mosley here with Modern Fit Moms. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to walk you through jump roping and leaking. I'm going to take you through several different regressions that you can take to hopefully get you back to jump roping. Now, please note, this is not a corrective exercise video, meaning I'm not giving you specific exercises to help with your jump rope. Sometimes we do need corrective exercises to support our jump roping and leaking. But in today's video, I'm just going to show you some regressions that you can try out in your jump roping to see if it works for you and try something different in your jump roping training. Please note, I am not a jump roping expert. So I just want to put that all out there. I don't personally jump rope myself, but I'm going to tell you a secret in just a moment about my experiencing with jump roping within the last couple of weeks. I also want to apologize. It's been a minute since I've been on YouTube, and I just want to say thank you for still being here. Thank you for still showing up. Don't you worry, I am still here. I'm just in the thicket of motherhood with homeschooling, business, co-parenting, all the things. And so I've really focused on prioritizing my own health over some other things like YouTube. But don't you worry, I am coming back with more and more and exciting content. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead right into today's educational YouTube. I'm not going to share any corrective exercises. I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks that you can try in your jump roping training to see if it might help with your leaking. Okay, real quick, I do want to say that although today's video is not about giving you corrective exercises for the pelvic floor, make sure to check out the Core Lift program inside the Fit Mom membership. This will walk you through all of those exercises that you need to get yourself to become leak free. Now, one thing I do want to just mention real quick is that yes, training the glutes, single leg, hamstrings, rotation, thoracic spine mobility, breathing, all of this does matter when it comes to jump roping. So be mindful of that. So if some of these tips and tricks don't work for you today, just note that what works for one person may not work for somebody else, and you may just need more training specifically to the pelvic floor to get you to become leak free. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about it. So last week, I was preparing for a fitness event that I was going to be going to out of town to learn more about the female athlete. And so part of that was jump roping. And I get this question more often than not is, I can do all the other things, but when it comes to double unders and jump roping, I leak. So I wanted to test it out for myself. Although I don't jump rope in my training, I was like, I need to know what it feels like and to see what happens. If you know my story, then you know that I used to pee well past my knees. And I would never be wearing colored leggings, especially something like this where you can see if I pee. And it was a couple years ago, I was working with a client, and she was a jump roper. She loved jump roping. And I literally just got on a call with her and we worked through some of these things that I'm going to share with you today. And we fixed her leaking right on the spot. So the number one thing I want you to do is just take a video of yourself, record yourself jump roping, pay attention to the sounds that you're hearing, pay attention to, are you breathing, pay attention to your pattern, what your rib cage is doing, what your pelvis is doing, because all of this can play a role in your jump roping experience. And so after this lovely weekend that I had with the physio detective, Anthony Lowe, I was able to go through a jump roping module in real time. So last week before the training, I wanted to try jump roping because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to leak there because how embarrassing. So I tried it out. Monday, I jump roped 4 rounds, 30 seconds each, and on the 3rd or 4th round, I did leak. Now, I also want to say I was about 5 days away from getting my period. However, I was very determined, and I was like, I don't want to leak, and I want to know what the problem is because I worked so hard on this. So the very next day, I did the same exact thing. I did 4 rounds, 30 seconds each of jump roping, and I didn't leak. And the only difference I really did is that I focused on my breathing. And that was the only cue that I needed, was to change my breathing patterns. Now that was an easy, quick fix for me, but that might not be super easy for you. So I'm going to take you through the progressions of jump roping so you can get yourself to experience some of that success that I experienced between the 24 hours of jump roping and changing my breath. So the very first thing I do want you to think about is our breathing, okay? Because this would be kind of the first step that I would walk someone through, is how how is your breathing when you're jump roping? Now, I don't want you to like completely focus on this, and I don't want you to focus on your pelvic floor either, because it's a fast movement. So we really can't think about the pelvic floor. I don't want you to try and contract the pelvic floor. I want you to let the pelvic floor do what it needs to do. That is the point, especially with any type of plyo, jumping, power moves. We should not be thinking about the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor should just respond on its own. So when it comes to breathing, we want to make sure we fill up that space. And that's what worked for me. I made sure to get a good inhale into my rib cage right before I started the jump. And then I had tiny little exhales every time my feet land on the mat. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So I am not doing anything fancy. Like I said, I am not a professional jump roper. Okay. So all I did is I took a really solid inhale into my rib cage and into my back. And then I started jumping and I did tiny little exhales. So I'm going to display that for you now. Oops, as I got caught. So disregard that. Let's change that up again. So I hope you can hear those tiny little exhales. I don't know if you can, but that's what I did. As I focused on my solid inhale, and I just exhaled and allowed my breath to come out every time my feet landed on the ground. So I didn't let the exhale come fully out. I did tiny little exhales. So there's still breath in my system. And then I exhaled every time my feet landed on the ground. That's what worked for me. That might not work for you, and that's okay. Another thing you can look at, which is kind of give or take, right? It's going to depend on each person. But a stacked position. So when we have a stacked position, rib cage stacked over the pelvis, this creates that nice even flow of the diaphragm down into the pelvic floor and then back up. But when we are unstacked, this can create some of that, I want to call it dysfunction, but some of that barrier to the pelvic floor working with your diaphragm. So for example, if you have ribs flared to the front and you have this excessive arch, think about your pelvis as a bowl of water. And so when you're dumped forward, the bowl of water is going to spill out into the front. And then same idea when you're crunched down, so all the pressure coming from down into the pelvic floor and you're tucked under, all the water is going to spill out. So this is where taking a video of yourself, you can see what your stack looks like. Now that does not mean that you have to have a perfect stack. That's not what we're aiming for. What we're wanting to do next is to see where our natural alignment goes and see, can we change something about it to support our jumping? So for example, if the breathing didn't work, then you can say, okay, I'm kind of hunched over in my jump and I'm rounded through that spine. Maybe I extend a little bit into my jump. Now, this isn't going to work for everyone, so just be mindful of that. I just want to get you moving and I just want you to try different things. So maybe you extend a little bit, maybe you round a little bit, maybe you do try to get more stacked in your position. Play around with those and see which one provides the best results when it comes to leaking. Do you feel more pressure or do you feel less pressure? Make a note of it and then pay attention to it when you jump. Then the next thing I want you to think about is just jumping without your rope, okay? So what we call them is just like pogo hops. So bouncing the feet up and down. We need to have good calf strength to be able to do that. So that's one thing I didn't mention earlier, is you want to make sure that you are working your calves. I do work my calves in my workouts no matter what. So for me, that wasn't the issue. Obviously, the breathing was what helped to fix my barrier. But when you're starting to jump rope and if you're leaking, we want to take it back a notch and kind of regress to see where you need to go first to build yourself back up. So just that simple pogo hop on your feet for 30 seconds and then notice, did you leak? Did you not leak? What's going on there? So first you want to track when you're leaking in your jump roping. Is it at 30 seconds or is that 20 reps? Make a note of it. And then that way you can work up towards that. Okay. Because then we can try to adjust different things. So again, number one, looking at your breathing, see if your breathing changes it. Look at your stacked position. So maybe you need to extend a little bit, maybe you need to round a little bit, maybe you need more of that neutral posture. Play around with it. Then I want you to do your pogo hops. So just jumping up and down. And then you can use your hands. So a lot of these items or a lot of these things I'm telling you is what I learned from Anthony Lowe. And what you can do is you can use your hands to kind of hit your thighs. So as you jump, you just hit your thighs instead of using that jump rope. Because a lot of times when we use that jump rope, that can really take the focus off and then we can't focus and then that can kind of mess us up. So instead of using the jump rope, you can use your hands to pat on your thighs. So you just jump with your hands on your thighs and play around with that. Okay? Then I'm not a jump roper professional. I don't jump rope as a part of my training. If you're wanting to get into those double unders, what you can do is a double tap. Now, please forgive me. I do not have this perfected, but as you're jumping, you could do a double tap. See, I'm not that great with it, but the idea is that you're jumping in that pogo hop with that double tap. Okay, so you double tap. Another thing that you can do instead of the double unders is a high, slow single. Again, I am not super advanced in this type of training, so I'm going to try it out for you guys real quick. But the idea is that you're doing a double or a single slow high, meaning that you jump, you have that vertical jump, right? Higher up to get that jump rope underneath twice. Again, I'm probably not going to be able to do it, so I'm just forewarning you. I'm just trying to give you tools so that you could try out for those of you that are experts in jump rope. All right. Whoop, and I'm already hitting stuff, so that's not going to work anyway. So let me toss that. All right, let's see. Yeah, see, I can't even, my brain and my jump rope don't go together. But you want to think about having that high, slow jump to get you to that double under, because if you could do a high, slow jump, and you can get that rope under twice, all right? So it might just be that the jump rope is tripping you up, and that's okay too. We just got to work ourselves. Like for me, it's definitely the jump rope is tripping me up to do that movement. All right, I also don't have the greatest jump rope ever. Okay, another thing you want to think about is having the jump rope. Again, a lot of these things that I'm showing you, I learned from Anthony Lowe, so it's not something I came up with my own. I'm just here to educate you as your coach and trainer. So another thing you can try, if the jump rope is messing you up, is holding the jump rope in one hand and just, see, I can't even, is just jumping with it on the side. Now you can play with both sides. You can play with it on the right. You can play with it on the left. I tend to get messed up on the left, so it doesn't really work out for me. So watch. Well, of course now I'm okay, but normally it doesn't do very well for me. So you can play around with that. You can practice that. Another thing you can do is single leg. So instead of a double leg, you can see single leg, I guess, supposedly helps with leaking. Something I learned, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So you can do single leg hops instead of double. So now I need to figure it out. Okay. Whoops, as I get caught. Guys, this is very new to me as far as jump roping goes. So you're getting the real, raw honesty, right? So you can do a single leg, see if that helps. Play around with it. The idea is that you play around with different techniques, different things to get you to be leak free. So if you are leaking, say at 20 reps, then try and practice up to, 15 reps, and then keep progressing from there. Look at your breathing, look at your stack position. Do you need more flexion? Do you need more do you need more extension, or do you need more flexion? Maybe it is that you need more corrective exercise, strengthening the calves, strengthening the glutes, rotation in that spine, breathing, and then maybe you just need to modify a little bit. So play around with it and see what works. Again, I know that's not super perfect. I am not a professional jump roper, but I'm hoping that that gives you some ideas and some things that you can try at home. Make sure to check the notes down below because I'm sure I've forgotten to mention something. But if you are ready to get back to running, lifting, jumping without leaking, make sure to check out the core lift method down below inside the Fit Mom membership. This is where I take you from point A to point B and get you back to your workouts you know and love without symptoms. All right, without further ado, guys, thank you so much for that. Thank you for showing up. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.